Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. It is another Friday, which means we get to bring to you yet another obscurity in literature. Of course, this Friday in particular piece of literature is going to have me sounding all rough and gravelly due to my students getting me sick yet again. But, it is what it is when you work with snot-nosed little children. Sometimes those things happen. Anyway, this book is something that I'd had my eyes on for some time, and when I heard straight from the author that it had gone out of print, I figured, you know what, now's the time I need to get it. And it's been a fun jaunt down memory lane. This book here, Dork by Evan Dorkin, with a wonderful portrait, self-portrait of the author. Last time I saw him, looked pretty much just like that. Really was one of those books that hit me being at the right place at the right time. I've been trying to recall where and when we first discovered Dorkin's work. I'm probably going to point fingers at my brother in Japan. He always had more esoteric tastes. I mean, we both started moving away from mainstream comic books fairly early on. I mean, we were there for like the birth of Image, when that all played out. And, we were already starting to kind of gravitate towards weird stuff. I know both of us were already picking up things from like Tundra and Kitchen Sink back then. And I'm going to guess it was probably through Milk and Cheese. And you can see milk right there. And I could have sworn cheese is there somewhere as well. Probably help if I pick up the book. But this is an interesting one because Dork itself seemed always like kind of a cathartic piece of just excising a lot of personal demons and issues, and it was very much an angsty, I don't know, just edgy style of humor that some of it still works and some of it's actually pretty good, but some of it hasn't aged as nicely as other parts. But you know what, that's part of life. Some things were okay then and some things aren't as appropriate now, I guess, but it is what it is. One of the things about this book, besides the fact that it is absolutely a big chunker, like 250 something plus pages, is that it is not actually the complete Dork comic. Now, first of all, it is quite larger than the original issues, of which I have just about everything. Now, the sad part is that we do not have... Does this one have the Eltingville in it? I don't remember. And I'm looking right at the table of contents. Instant piano stuff. Maybe this one didn't have it. I guess not. Okay. Anyway. The Eltingville stuff was pretty funny, and I always thought that was one of my favorite parts of the Dork books, but, as things started to develop and Dorkin started to kind of do his own style and kind of telling his own kind of self-reflective stories, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. But the real frustrating part is that this book didn't continue. I have always felt Hectic Planet was Dorkin's magnum opus. Loved Hectic Planet. Book 1 is not as good as Book 2, mostly due to just the earlier art, which was very much still trying to ape that Marvel style before he'd really developed, I think, as a cartoonist. You can see hints of that. Of course, you've got all the music-related stuff going on in there. But, like, when you open it up on the very first page, to me, that is, like, where Dorkin really hits his stride, when he's got that kind of, Hernandez Brothers Love and Rockets look going on, which I'm sure was a major influence on him. But besides that, so this book actually starts off with the earliest strips, which I want to say were probably from like Instant Piano or something, which was an anthology that he worked on with Kyle Baker, I think, and a couple other artists. But we're talking probably like late 80s, early 90s on some of these. And I always thought the one brother from the Murder Family always looked like Joey Ramone to me. I feel like some of these almost look redrawn. Probably not. I know this was always one of my brother's favorites, the Fisher-Price Theater. But, like, was this really 1993? I was big into music in the 90s. I mean, I still am. Not as much these days. But it's kind of funny, just the angst and anger towards the commercialization of like underground, less popular music. Maybe in the Microwave. I feel like this one was in Paradox Press when DC was putting out their big books of urban legends or something like that. Maybe it's just my imagination. There were similar stories. But I love these little one-page blurbs, taking shots at comicdom, taking shots at various fandoms, the music scenes, weirdos, bizarre people, serial killers. And these were some of the ones that we always liked the most. These just like kind of Yonkoma 4-panel type comics, of which there are tons and tons. Some of them are actually funny. Some of them are not so funny. We always have like where you can see bits and pieces of the author's personal tastes popping up. The Madness M. Somebody who spent many days and many nights in pits and concerts. Oh yes, came from the pit. But here's what's really cool is we actually do have some of the color sections as well. But I mean, the stuff in this is so random. And I guess, like I said, if you're one of those people that was there at the time and, you know, just like some interesting, bizarre slice of life stuff, this was a great book for me. And that's the cool thing, you know, it's also, as I feel like he matured as an artist, I love the clean line look that he had going on. I think it really works. I love his cartooning. I probably enjoy it even more than the actual comic stuff. Although I really did like Hectic Planet. Always remember that nothing can kill Keith Richards. Cartoonist Goes to Hell. I do like that we have like the covers of everything. Good old Eltingville. Sometimes it almost reminded me of like a borderline Daniel Close style, which I always liked and enjoyed. Very much a bit of a time capsule for me, all of the various characters that appear. Myron the Living Voodoo Doll. Always with the skinheads. I mean, that was like a mainstay staple of the music scenes in New York. And again, his cartooning was always a major influence on us growing up. And it wouldn't be a Evan Dorkin book without some sort of playlist. And that's one of the things that's funny is the stuff that ended up there, it very much matched a lot of the stuff that we like to listen to as well. Nation of Ulysses. Now that is a name I haven't heard in a while. Rocket from the Crypt. Sleater Kinney. Spanish Bombs by The Clash. Penetration. Husker Du. Pay to Come by Bad Brains has always been a classic. What's funny is there's not a whole lot of ska on this one. There used to be so much ska stuff on his old work. And I always want to say that was a major influence in my brother and myself probably getting involved more in the music scene. Just, you know, we'd always go search out albums that had Dorkin art. I remember The Exceptions. He did the cover art for that. That one was actually pretty good. The old Mashing Up the Nation albums. They had like Bim Skullabim stuff, all the Boston bands at the time. I know we did a lot of artwork for that. But just some fun reminiscing. And hopefully, I know the Eltingville stuff, while it isn't in this book, is actually in its own separate release, along with Milk and Cheese being in their own things. But to me, this was always the book that I would come back to. Milk and Cheese was like, I can take it or leave it. You know, it had its moment. Hectic Planet was the one that I always felt disappointed didn't get to continue, but it's cool to see that Dork actually did last. I think the last volume I had was like maybe 9 or 10. I can't remember, but I think it only ran for like 11 issues anyways. But I've got most of those signed by Dorkin, put away somewhere. I know I've got some doodles of his at some point of Milk and Cheese stuff. So for me, you know, as I'm getting older, and like this is just such a cool time capsule of looking at both the artist, his work, what I enjoyed at the time, what I still enjoy at these times, and you know, it's just a fun reminiscence looking back at this stuff. Is there some stuff that, you know, makes a landing? Absolutely. Is there some stuff that's just a little bit of a head scratcher? Absolutely. But when you have the amount of content that this book has, and when you have as many just sight gags and visual jokes that are just piled up on these pages, it's not that surprising. So if you're kind of curious, I'd say go hunt down one of these books while you still can, because like I said, it's out of print. I don't know if Dark Horse is going to have another run in the near future. Hopefully Mr. Dorkin can find some time to get back to creating interesting, well-drawn cartoon strips rather than go the, you know, old school Marvel route, because I think that's where he really shines. And I know that that's what I always enjoyed of his. So I'm going to stop talking because my voice is starting to really croak and I want to go cough, unfortunately. So I will bid you all a fond farewell. And with that said, then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.